It was just 24 hours ago now that New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced his resignation, triggering a transition to Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul and a reset of the entire political scene in New York. Welcome now the last Republican to serve as New York governor. He is George Pataki. He succeeded Andrew Cuomo's father, Mario, and then he served 3 terms in Albany from 1995 to 2006. Welcome now back to Bloomberg. So, Governor, thank you so much for being here. Let's start with going forward, looking forward with Kathy Hochul. She's going to give her first news conference as the designate to be governor. What would you advise her priorities should be right now, stepping in during this crisis, I think it's fair to say?
You know, David, I think it is fair to say it's a crisis. And the fact that Governor Cuomo resigned, I think, brings it to a head, but it had to happen. He would have been impeached had he not resigned. And I think what we need in New York is what we need in America. Leadership that looks to bring us together and not divide us. So I don't think she should give a partisan talk. I don't think she should give a political talk. I think it should just be about her views as to the direction of New York State going forward. Let me say, I really hope she succeeds. We are at a critical time in New York. You know, you're in the city, I'm in the city, that whether it's crime going through the roof across the state, the mentally ill, homeless out on the streets, the taxes being too high, people leaving New York. We need leadership that is inclusive, that is open, that people can trust. And I hope that's the approach she takes today.
What does Andrew Cuomo, the outgoing governor, leave behind for her in 2 important respects? One is budget, the finances and the economy of the state, and the other is the COVID-19 virus.
Well, I think on both fronts, there's a lot to be criticized there. The budget from a standpoint of dollars and cents is fine because the federal government has literally given the states, including New York, billions and billions of dollars, and state revenues have actually gone up throughout this pandemic because Wall Street has done very well. So from a financial standpoint, the state is fine, but from an economic standpoint, we're not. We're losing jobs, we're losing businesses. We raise taxes under Cuomo virtually every year to where we're the highest tax state, the highest tax people in America. And one of the things I would do if I were in Lieutenant Governor Hochul's shoes is I would announce a multi-year reduction in that tax burden to send a positive message to those who are thinking of leaving the state or those who might want to invest in the state. On the COVID, I have to tell you, David, I am so distressed that we lost over 15,000 people in nursing homes, and there was no excuse for that. From day one, experts, the nursing homes themselves, and political people like me were saying this is an unjustifiable, wrong policy. And then we found out months later that they deliberately lied to cover up the number of COVID deaths in nursing homes because they were afraid of a federal investigation. So where we stand now is we've made a lot of progress on vaccination. We need much more. We should have public service announcements targeted at every community, constantly urging people who are not vaccinated to get vaccinated. We just haven't seen enough of that. And I think if I were Lieutenant Governor Hochul, that would be one of the primary things I'd look to do is expand vaccinations in New York.
Governor, I don't think it'll be up to Kathy Hochul to decide, but she may have a point of view on it. Do you think the Assembly should go forward with impeachment proceedings? As I understand it, that is a possibility to prevent Andrew Cuomo from running for office again.
Well, I don't think this should end the investigation into all the scandals involving Andrew Cuomo. It's not just the 11 women that Attorney General James found credible, completely credible. Their allegations, particularly the criminal charges, will continue. It's also things like the nursing home. Why did that happen? Was that influenced by lobbyists or campaign donations? There's the misuse of government resources during the height of the COVID crisis to give benefits to Governor Cuomo's own family. So I don't know about the impeachment process. I think should be over. I'm not a great believer in impeaching people not in public office. But I do believe that the investigations into the many, many scandals surrounding Governor Cuomo need to continue.
So, Governor, you said you would advise Kathy Hochul, if she asked your advice, not to be partisan in these first remarks. But give us a sense, in the first week, the first 30 days, what do you think she should set as her priorities to set the government in the right direction up in Albany?
I'd say, first of all, COVID. It's on everybody's minds, and an aggressive program to expand awareness of the possibility of vaccination, to do everything possible to increase those numbers. The second, I think, should be an intelligent, science-based policy of what we're doing going back to schools. I don't think one size fits all. New York City school districts might have a different approach than a school district up in the Adirondack Mountains, but lay out an intelligent system of guidelines as to what parents, teachers, students should be able to expect going back to school. And then I think you do need something to deal with the criminal justice issues. For Governor Cuomo, never once during the crisis stood up and said, I understand the importance of our police. I stand with our police. You know who did that is the person who won the Democratic primary in New York City. And I think that she should make it plain that as we deal with the issue of exploding crime in New York, that the police are the important front line and that she will support them. So these are things that, from my standpoint, should not be controversial. But David, this is New York. And whether she does that or not, you know, there are right now dozens of people plotting how they can run for governor, whether it's as a socialist to the left of Hochul in a Democratic primary or as a Republican in a Republican primary. So regardless of what she does, the politics will be out there. Just do what you think is right, and the politics will take care of itself.
So let's go exactly there, and specifically to your party, the Republican Party. What does this mean for the prospects? Governor Hochul, when she becomes governor, will only have a little over a year before there's an election. What do you expect? Who do you expect to run? By the way, you have any interest in suiting up yourself again?
David, there are going to be a lot of good people out there. And what I've always believed is that when it's about you, you think you're the only one. You end up like Andrew Cuomo, where it's all about your press, your power, your control. And that ultimately ends up very badly, whether it's Andrew Cuomo or Eliot Spitzer. So what I hope is to find someone who has the philosophy I believe in, the personality and the political skills to get elected in New York, which is not an easy thing to do. But we're going to have primaries in both parties. We're going to see the Democratic Party. Hochul in Congress was a moderate. Will she continue to be a moderate and open up the opportunity for socialists, Democrats to run to her left? Will she move left, in which case she'll still have a primary? So it's going to be chaos. But amidst that chaos, the important thing is we need a governor who can govern, can lead, can put in place policies that change the direction and show that our government is stable and functioning.
And finally, Governor, I want to look back a little bit. We just are a month away from an important anniversary for many of us, the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. You were governor at the time. I remember well that when there weren't a lot of officials to find to really address what was going on, you were there. Reflect back on that day and what we've learned since then that might put us in better state today than we were back 20 years ago.
You know, David, the 20th anniversary just brings back horrible memories of the awful loss that we suffered that day, the almost 3,000 wonderful people who died for no good reason, except people resent the fact that we live in freedom. So we have to hold those freedoms dearly. But to me, when I reflect back, the saddest thing of all is that after September 11th, we were the most united as a people, as a country in my lifetime. There were no Republicans, Democrats. It wasn't black, white. It wasn't north, south, young, old. We were all Americans. We had been attacked and we were going to stand together. And you look at America today and we're being torn apart, not by foreign terrorists, but by our own dislike and unwillingness to engage with people who may have a different political philosophy. So if there's one lesson to learn from September 11th, we have to, when we stand together, we can accomplish anything. When we pull each other apart, we are not going to have a bright future as a country. So let's try to reclaim some of that unity we had after September 11th.